Hey Flight Simmers, welcome back. In today's video we want to create another template in Autodesk Fusion, and we will use this template in the future to create all the awesome panels of the Airbus cockpit. And today we will cover the rotary switch, for example on the ECOM panel. If you're new to the channel, please make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell. But now let's head over to Autodesk Fusion and create another template. Let's start with the switch and the knob. I will not do the 3D design of it. I will simply import it. You will find a link to it in the description. To import the step files into Fusion, simply go to File and Open. Browse to your directory, select the step file and open it. There it is, and save it to your directory. And simply do the same with the knob. Create a new design, open, browse to the directory, select the knob, open it, and save it. That's all we have to do in order to import the step files. I'm closing these documents. And now I have an untitled new document. This will be my template. Save it. Give it a name. All right. I will start with creating some planes. We'll start with an offset plane. From the top plane, -10 millimeters. This will be the upper face of our bottom component of the panel. Create a sketch on this plane. And there, a simple circle as a construction line. Diameter doesn't matter. I will set it to 20 millimeters. Finish the sketch. And now I want to place the switch in my document. Open up the browser. Browse to the directory and drag the rotary switch into the view. And hit OK. I simply moved it a little bit to the side that my circle is visible. And now I want to place the switch on top of the circle. For this, I'm using the joint. The joint from this circle. The nut will be on top of the bottom component. So I select this circle. And the second circle is this one. And now the switch is in place. I will do the same with the knob. For this, I'm creating another joint, another sketch. On the top view, again, a circle as a construction line. Diameter doesn't matter, it's just for reference for the positioning. Select the knob and drag it onto the document. And create a joint between this circle and the construction circle. Okay. switch the visibility of the sketches. And now we have already our assembly of the switch and the knob. And in order to use it in our panel template, we have to create a cut body that we can use to cut the areas to place our template in the panel. For this, simply right-click on the top component and create a new component. Name it cut body. Very important, right-click and ground to parent. So every time we will use this template and move it in our assemblies, this cut body will follow all the movements that our rotary switch template does. All right, I will start with the lower section of our cut body. And for this, there are several approaches to it. I can either create a rotary body with a profile, or from the top view with some projected geometries, some extrusions. I will go for the extrusion. For this, I'm creating a sketch on the bottom surface of the nut. And now I need some geometries. For this, I'm using the project include and project, or simply press P on your keyboard. And I need this circle, the upper one, and this little notch over here I need as well. All right. Make the rotary switch and the knob invisible for now. Or I need the rotary switch for reference, but I don't need the knob. Finish the sketch and create an extrusion. This profile to this surface over here, 4 millimeters. Hit OK. Another extrusion of this profile and the inner profile, this closed circle. The start will be either offset or object. I like to use the object. Simply select the face of the switch. This is my start, and all the way up my extrusion, 60 millimeters. And very important, operation type join. Join it to the lower cylinder. Okay. And one more extrusion of the notch. And the start will be the object again, the surface, and all the way down, again 4 millimeters, or instead of using the object as a start, you can use it as the extend type. I want to extrude this profile all the way up to the surface. Just go with a profile plane as a start and the extend type to object and select this object. As you can see, there are several ways to create this extrusion. Operation type join and hit OK. Now I want to create some offset to all of the surfaces over here. And for this, I'm using the press pull. Let's start with the large cylinder on top, and I will give it an offset of 0.5 millimeters. So we have some space between the switch and the panel. Okay, and another press pull of this surfaces of 0.25 millimeters. If you want, create another press pull on this surface, 0.2 millimeters. All right, now the lower section of our cut body is complete. Let's go on with the top section. For this, I'm creating a new sketch to the bottom over here. For now, I switch the visibility of the body. Now I'm creating a projected geometry of my knob. Simply press P on the keyboard, and this edge all the way around. Okay. Make the switch and the knob invisible again. And now we need some more geometries because our switch is toggling 45 degrees to either side. I need some more geometries. I will start with some construction lines, one vertical construction line and two construction lines on the sides. Give it a symmetric constraint between these two construction lines and the center line. Now every time I will drag one line, the other line will move as well. Give it a dimension between these two construction lines of 90 degrees. And because our knob has a width of 4 millimeters, to measure this distance, simply select one line, hit Control, keep it pressed, and select the second line. And here you can see the distance between those two lines, 4 millimeters. And I need an offset line of this line. Make sure that you disable the chain selection. We just want to create an offset of this construction line. Select the curve and 2 millimeters. But I want to give it some more space. I go for 2.5 millimeters. Create another offset line on the other side, over here, negative 2.5 millimeters. Okay, now we need an arc between these two lines. For this, create arc and select the center point arc. Center point, and from here to here. Create a dimension, 12 millimeters. And we need some space between the upper side of the knob and this arc. And there are several ways to do this, either by trial and error, set it to 10 millimeters, it's a little bit too less, 11, a little bit too much, 10.5, exactly in the middle, or simply create a dimension between the upper line and the circle, create a dimension. Before you select the second geometry, the arc, right click and pick circle and arc tangent and 0.5 millimeters. All right. And now we got all the geometries we need. Finish the sketch. Create an extrusion of this profile of the knob. And you can create it all the way down to the surface. It doesn't matter. New body, or if you make this body visible again, just set it to operation type join. Okay. A second extrusion of this profile, -3 millimeters. And because I want to have a little bit more space between the cylinder of the knob and my upper part of the panel, I will create a press-pull of this cylinder of 0.5 millimeters. Okay. And here is the cut body we will use to cut our panels. Make the sketches invisible. Now let's give it a try. Create a new document. Select your panel template, drag it into the document. Create a sketch on top with a simple circle as a construction line. You can see it. There it is. And now let's browse to the directory where our template is placed, the rotary switch, and drag the rotary switch template onto the document. Now you can see the template. It's empty because we haven't saved it. Now it's saved. Go back to the new document. You get this warning sign. There are some changes on the reference document, and simply click on this icon to update. And there is our rotary switch. This looks great. Create a joint between either this circle or this inner circle. It doesn't matter. And this one we just created. Okay. Fantastic. And everything we need in order to create a full template for the rotary switch are the labels. And for this, I'm creating a new document. I will not create it within this template. There's a reason behind this, because I don't want to break the link of the rotary switch later in our panels. I just want to break the link to the label template. Create a new document and Save it, give it a name. Rotary switch label. Create a sketch on the top view. I will start with a construction line. From the center point, the diameter is 25 millimeters. And this outer cylinder of the knob is 25 millimeters. You can see over here, radius of 12.5 millimeters. This is my reference. Let's create some more construction lines. Again, a center construction line vertically. And some more over here. You can do it again like we just did in the on the cut body. Symmetric constraint between these two lines and the center line. Give it an angle of 90 degrees. Now let's create some arcs and some lines we will use for our extrusions later. Let's start with arc and center point arc again. Make sure that the line type is not set to construction. Select the center point. And this will be my first arc, and do a second arc on top of it. Over here. Let's create some lines. Like this. I don't care about constraints right now. It isn't parallel over here and symmetric over there. Just create the lines, and now I will do the constraints. I will start with a symmetric constraint between these lines and the construction line. Same over here and here. Now we need some dimensions. The width is 1 millimeter. It's not perpendicular over here, so give it a perpendicular constraint and set it to 1 millimeter. The distance between the two arcs is 1 millimeter as well. And the distance between the construction circle over here, the outer cylinder of our rotary switch, is 2 millimeters. Let's change the length of the lines. Five millimeters. And this one in the middle. To this point. To select this point, right click and pick circle or arc tangent. Five millimeters. And now I created this profile. Now we need some labels. For this, I will open up the reference on the A320 flight deck overview of the fly-by-wire sim. And in here, there are actually several types of these rotary switches with either 2 rows on top, or if you have a look over here, there's just 1 row, but I will create the template with these labels because it's easier to just delete some labels instead of creating new ones. And I will create these 2 rows over here, the captain, first officer, and the 3 on either side. And for this, create and text, drag the window. I will start with air data or label, name it as you want. Name it top label. The font is Arial Narrow, typeface bold, the height 3.5 millimeters, and set the alignment to align center and align middle. Very important, because every time we are dragging this label, it will tilt, and to prevent this, simply add a horizontal constraint to the upper line, and here's our label. This is the first one. Select it, Control C, Control V, and create some copies. Second one, we can actually give it a real name and set it to norm. Some more copies, one over here, one over here. Set it to captain and first officer. And then we need the 3 on either side. Control C, Control V. Change the text to 3 and duplicate this label to the other side. All right. Now I'm creating some more construction lines just as a reference for my labels. This line for the 3. And this is for the captain and the first officer. Just drag it onto the line. And now when I'm dragging the whole line, both labels will follow. Very nice. The 3, just drag it onto this line, this as well. And now the text will follow the construction line. For the horizontal position of the labels, I will create some more construction lines. A vertical line over here, one over here. Add a symmetric constraint between these 2 lines and the center line. And then drag the label center point onto the intersection of these 2 lines. And now when now it's following. Very nice. And give it a dimension between these 2 construction lines, 40 millimeters. And from the center point to the horizontal construction line, 10.5. I just see there is, here are 2 labels. All right, just delete one. Do the same with the 3. Create 2 more vertical construction lines. Give it a symmetric constraint. Drag the 3 on the intersection. Doesn't follow. Now it's following. Let's have a look in the design. I just see the captain and first officer is on top. Here it's on the side, but it doesn't. That's not a problem. Simply delete this dimension. Set it to 17.5. And a little bit closer, like this. And now let's give these labels a dimension. .5. Maybe a little bit higher. Wrong label. This one. Like this. We need some more dimensions from the center to the center of this label. For this, I'm creating another construction line horizontally and drag it onto the intersection. And one more construction line for the upper label. .5, and between these 2 construction lines 5 millimeters. Finish the sketch. And here is the label for our rotary switch template. Go back to the assembly of the rotary switch template. Not to the rotary switch template, excuse me. To our new assembly, the panel with the rotary switch template, and just drag the rotary switch label template in here. Again, I did my mistake of not saving the label. If I go back, update, and now it's visible. And to set the label, simply create a joint between this circle and this circle. All right, now it's out of range. Simply drag the reference a little bit downwards. And here are the labels, and the rotary switch template. Let's test the cut body. To cut the panel, it's necessary to break the link of it. Right click and break link. And now I'm able to cut all the bodies with the rotary switch cut body over here. Set the operation to cut. All right, now I've cut the top transparent layer. Do the same with the panel itself. The tool body is the cut body. Okay, and again with the lower part of the panel, the cut body, operation type cut. Okay, make the cut body invisible. And now you can see both of the top components, the clear layer and the panel itself is cut. Here's a little chamber for the notch. Nice. And from the bottom side, we have a little bit of space between the switch and the panel. This looks really nice. All right, now both of my templates are created, the switch itself and the labels, and now we are ready to use it. This is the end of today's video, and today we created one of the last templates we are using to create all of the panels in our cockpit. If you find this video useful, please give it a like. If you do have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section below. If you are new to the channel, please make sure that you subscribe, and see you in the next video.